Welcome back to the Knit Crowd as well as Yarnspirations.com. I'm your host Mikey. Today we're going to do the Parquet knit blanket, and this almost looks like it's basket weave. It's actually a pretty easy pattern, but all this writing was kind of confusing me a bit as a new knitter. So what I've done is that I've come up with the resource tool that you can have. Go on the knitcrowd.com. There's a link in the more information of this video, and I have a diagram that I've drawn to show you what rows number 1 through 12 look like in graph format. So I have listed what those symbols are, and because of that it makes it a lot easier. Now what you're gonna notice right off the top of the bat is that you're gonna have like 10 stitches that are just empty. Okay, just knit stitches with nothing. But then I was thinking that was an error because you got some so close to the edge on this side, but as it progresses up you have more of a gap on this side, and if you look really carefully you can see that here on the edge. So you see that it's really close to the edge at some point and then it jets right in. So it's not really an error, it's just more of a confusing thing for me as a new knitter. So what we have today is that I'm gonna provide you this, and so we have 10 rows, and then we have 12 rows, so 1 through 12, and once you get to 12 you come right back to 1 again. This is really not a hard pattern, but in this pattern what we are going to learn is how to knit through the back loop. That's what TBL is, and we're gonna learn how to purl in the back loop. So if there's a knit in the back loop symbol right here and it has no red box, that means that it's knit, and the ones with this one here, okay, with the red box, means that it's purl in the back loop. So we're gonna be able to do that. So what you can do if I were you and you were me is that I would think about printing this out on knitcrowd.com, and as you work your way up just move your paper up so you can see the stitches as you go if it helps you, and that's something that I would do for myself if I were you or me. So let's begin. Let's talk about the multiples, and let's get you started on this pattern. So if you'd like to change the size of your blanket, the sets are in multiples of 10. So there's 10 stitches and 10 and 10 and 10. So as long as you keep it in groups of 10 you're always gonna be successful with this particular pattern. So that's the nice thing about it. So you can change it as you wish. So this particular one, it's said to cast on 140, which is a multiple of 10, and you will get the look that you see within the blanket. So I'm gonna do a smaller example with you today just to be able to show you, to prove to you that it works, and then to make sure that you are doing the stitch work correctly as well. So let's begin. The pattern is in the more information of this video. If you'd like to click a link, you are using an 8mm size US 11 knitting needle if you wish, and you need circular, and the circular knitting needles have to be the ones that will be able to get everything onto your stitch work. So you'll have 140 if you're doing this particular pattern, and if you're doing anything smaller you just don't need to worry about so much cord. So let's begin. We're going to do a cast on. I'm not going to do the entire width of the blanket. I'm just going to do a small example, and you can do the repeat pattern across. And I'm just going to cast on, okay, with the twist, and I'm just going to wrap that back needle and pull through. And then before I put it onto the one that I'm touching is that I'm just going to do a twist and come up underneath it like that. And you can do 140 of those if you wish this afghan to be completed. And if you would like to change it, just keep it in groups of 10. So for myself I'm just going to continue to cast on until I have 30, and that's my multiple of 10, and that will work out for my particular pattern. So I'll see you here in just a moment. Before you get started on today's pattern, what we need to do is that we need to think about what we're going to do right in the very beginning. So I actually started this tutorial without actually remembering to do it. So the first 6 rows are just going to be straight knit back and forth before starting to do this repeat pattern as you see going on here. So just pay attention to that, and then you're going to do 6 rows, and then you're going to start the repeat that I'm about to show you, and then carry on. Once you're done this particular project, then once you're satisfied with the distance, then you're going to finish it off with 6 just knit stitches back and forth on the end on the other side. So don't forget to do that. That's something that I completely forgot. So let's take a closer look at my graph that I've made here. So what we have is that we're going to have rows through 1 to 6 where it looks like it's shifted over here. Okay, and then rows from 7 to 12 is going to shift it back. This is what's creating that basket weave. So what we have to do is we have to pay attention to where we are on this particular pattern in order to make it work. The nice thing about it is that you are knitting on this particular thing for most of it, other than doing the purl and knit in the back loops only. So it's just a really kind of a neat idea. You can print this out on the knitcrowd.com if you wish to have this in order for you to keep track as well as we go. So let's move on to row number 1. So the starting of the row is going to be the same for no matter how big it is. So the first 10 are going to all be just knit stitches. So let's count those out. So just knit as normal. So 1, and you got 2 and 3. I'll try 3 again. 3 and 4. And we got 5 and 6 and 7, 8, 9 and 10. So here's where the game plan changes. This is when we start doing some fun stuff. So in the next 5 stitches they're going to be a combination of things. So in the next 5 what we're going to do is that we're going to knit 1 in the back loop. So how do you do that? So in the back loop we've been going like this, okay, as a regular knitting, but in the back loop what you have to do is you have to come straight on in like this. Okay, so let me show you that again. Normally knitting is like this, the knit stitch, but you want to do in the back loop, so you're just gonna go head on in like that. So you're gonna do one of those, so wrap it and knit as normal. Okay, this is turning that stitch around, it's through the back loop. And so you're gonna do one of those. Okay, the next one is going to be a purl, so just move that yarn forward and purl. Okay, the next one is going to be through the back loop knit, so just move that yarn backward and go into the back loop. Okay. Okay, the next one is going to be a purl. And the final one of that group of 5 is going to be through the back loop knit. Okay, so just like that and through. So if you need to reverse the video just to show you that again, just do so right now, and we're gonna carry on. So the next 5 in a row are just gonna be knit. Now your yarn is already in the back, so you don't have to worry about switching. So the next 5 are just knit. So 1, 2, that's 3, 4 and 5. So we're gonna do that same fancy stitch work again. So the next 5 stitches are gonna be a combination. So the first one is going to be knit in the back loop only. So you don't come up like that, you go straight on in and wrap that, and then you're going to purl the next one. Okay, and that's as per the chart that you see, and then you're going to do another knit in the back loop. So that's your middle one of 5. Okay, you're going to purl the next one, and then finally the last one is going to be knit in the back loop. So if your multiples are correct and you've done that all the way, so you just continue, so you go 5 in a row of knit, and then you do this fancy stitch work for 5, and then 5 and 5. So I'll keep them in groups of 5. So once you get to the end of the row you'll have 5 stitches left over, and you just straight knit those things, and this is row number 1. Okay, so if you just understand multiples you'll see that this will work out pretty good for you. So what I would do off camera for myself is that what I would do for myself is really check that off and make sure I don't repeat this row accidentally too many times. I want to keep it as per the pattern. So let's turn it around. You will not see it really starting to develop yet, but it will appear really soon. So let's move along to row number 2. So in row number 2 we're going to knit only for the first 5. If you look at the diagram of where we are, that we're gonna run into that combination of stitches a lot earlier. So on the other side we run into it after 10 stitches. This side we only run into it after 5. So the first 5 we're gonna knit. So 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, and now here comes the repeat pattern as we go. So the next group of 5 are gonna be fancy stitch work. So the first one is gonna be purl in the back loop only. Do you know how to do a purl in the back loop? Watch. You're gonna move this strand forward. Okay, we have tutorials available for this if you need it, and I'm just gonna move something off camera that's gonna pull right into my work. And what you want to do is that normal with purl you would go in like that. Okay, with the purl in the back loop, what you have to do is you have to come around the back and get that other loop in here and then go forward. Okay, so we're gonna do that for one, and I'll show that to you again in a second. The next one is gonna be a knit, so move that yarn back and knit in the next one. That's number 2. And now we're gonna purl in the back loop only, so move that yarn forward. Normally it's like this, but it's in the back loop, so coming around and getting it from behind and then going forward. Okay, that's the middle one of the 3. The next one's knit, and then the final one of the group of 5 is again the purl in the back loop, so moving that yarn forward and get that strand from the back and go forward. So that's that group of 5 done. So the next 5, like you can see on the chart, is just knit. So we're just gonna knit 5. So 1, 2, it's 3, 4, and 5. And now we're gonna repeat that fancy stitch work again. So let's begin. So the first one is knit, or sorry, purl in the back loop. So move that yarn forward and you're gonna purl in the back loop, so getting it from behind. So you got 1. The next one is knit, that's number 2 of 5. The next one is purl in the back loop. This is 3 of 5. I'm just trying to say it in a ways that I can remember. The next one is knit for 4. And the final one is purl in the back loop for 5. Now you're just gonna continue that same idea until you get to the very far side, and then eventually you'll have 10 stitches left over, and I think I do have 10. So that means that I haven't dropped anything along the way, and I'm just gonna straight knit those all the way back to the end. So please do that. That's row number 2. So moving up to row number 3. So row number 3 is exactly what you did in row number 1, and it will be exactly the same thing you do in row number 5. So we're gonna start off immediately, and the next 10 we're going to do knits. So let's count those out. So 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 5. And this is 6, 7, this is 8, 9, and 10. So do you remember what we did? If you look at the chart, we're going to do some back loops now. So the first one will be a knit in the back loop only. So remember that we normally knit like this, but we're gonna go in the back loop, so we're gonna go right head on into it and then wrap coming up. So that's 1 of 5. The next one will be a purl, just like what you did before, and the next one is in the knit in the back loop. This is number 3. I'm speeding up because this is what I've already taught you. So next one is a purl, and the last one of that group of 5 is the back loop. So just carry along across this. Okay, so the next 5 are going to be just knit, and then the next 5 is exactly what I just showed you. It'll be the knit in the front back loop, and then purl, knit, back loop, purl, knit, back loop, and then the next 5 will be the final of these, just like you see here. So continue to do that all the way for row number 3. So let's start you off on row number 4. So row number 4, there's only 5 in here to start, and then we start the fancy footwork again. So this row number 4 is exactly what we did in number 2. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you this row once again, and then I'm gonna leave you to do 5 and 6, which are the repeat of what you already know, and then I'm gonna switch you over on number 7. So let's get you started. We're gonna knit the 5 to begin. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, just like that, really quite easy. And now we're going to continue along. So we're going to, this is the row number 4. So what we're going to do is that we're going to purl in the back loop. So move that yarn forward first and then purl in the back loop. Okay, so I've already shown you how to do that. So 1, and then you're going to knit in the back loop for 2. Sorry, knit regularly, sorry, and then purl in the back loop. Kind of gets confusing, but the look is actually amazing. And it's coming back and it's gonna knit, and then the final one is purl in the back loop. So that is your group of 5. So you're gonna do that when you hit it again. So the next 5 will just be straight knitting, and then you'll do that same thing again for the next 5, and then the last 10 then will be knit by itself. Please do that for row number 4. So I've just finished row number 4. So you can see that it's starting to actually take a look. You can see almost like a ribbing effect that is going on in this particular project, and you can see it on both sides as well. So what I'm gonna leave for you now is to do row number 5 and 6. You already know how to do it. It's the same thing as 3 and 4. And you do 5 and 6 on your own, and then I'll meet you back up on number 7. So it's exactly what you see. Just use that chart or the written words in order for you to stay balanced and make sure that you're keeping track, especially just watching this middle sections where you're doing this fancy footwork. It looks great. You just got to get beyond the repeat pattern and you can really start seeing it taking effect. So I'll see you on row number 7. So now that I have my rows 1 through 6 done of the repeat pattern, I'm now going to switch over, and it's gonna shift that over, and if you looked at my diagram that I had before, it is going to shift over just like you see here. So it's exactly going to happen on the project like so. So the 10 that we had on one side is now gonna jump to the other side, and these are gonna shift over this way. So let's begin row number 7. So as we begin row number 7, we have all this distance of 10 stitches of just knit, and what we're gonna do now is that we're only gonna do 5, and then we're gonna start, and it's gonna shift these over 1. So let's begin to do the first 5 of just knit, and you already know what to do with this. Okay, I've already shown you how to do these stitches. It's just I'm showing you how to now shift over. So the first 5 are just straight knit stitches going across like so. So then the next 5 are then gonna be the new stitch work that you need to do. So it's gonna be the same as what you already know. So the first one is gonna be knit in the back loop only. So that was 1. Then you have purl for 2. And then you have knit in the back loop for 3. You have purl, okay, for 4. And then knit in the back loop like so on for 5. So once you get that done, then you're going to do the next 5 then will be just straight knitting. So just your yarn's already in behind, so then you carry on. So you're just gonna do that, continue to repeat pattern every group of 5. You're just going to do one or the other. So it's either gonna be a straight knit or it's gonna be that fancy footwork like I just showed you. So you're gonna do that all the way to the end. Okay, but remember is that the final 10 stitches are just gonna be straight knit. So you see that these are here now, is that those will be covered of just regular knitting all the way to the end, and that will help it to shift. So please do the rest of the row the same way. So we just finished off doing 5 just straight knit. The next one is back loop only of knit, purl, back loop only of knit, and then purl, and back loop only of knit, and then the remaining 10 is just all once you get to the end, the remaining final 10 will just be straight knit. Please do that all the way for row number 7. So now you've successfully got across row number 7. So I'm now gonna refer you back to the diagram because you already know how to do these stitches. It's just a matter of counting. So if we did row number 7, we're now here. Row number 8, the first 10 are just knit, and then you can see exactly what you need to do. Remember, it's all in groups of 5 right to the end, and then rows number 9 starting off with 5, and then you're just doing it. Once you get all the way to 12, you're gonna go right back to 1 again, just like you see here, and you're just gonna continue to repeat this group of 12 over and over and over until you're satisfied or to what the pattern's saying if you want to match that. The final 6 rows, just like it was in the very beginning, is that it's going to be straight knit back and forth. And so if I show you my other example that I had, is that I started off with 6 just straight knitting back and forth before I get that. So if you go and finish off this project, it'll be looking the same way on the other side. So you'll just have straight knit right out, and that really does line up with these nice border edges as well. So that's how you do this one. This is called the Parquet Knit Blanket. This is a free pattern available by Yarnspirations. Again, this diagram is available on theknitcrowd.com. Just look at the more information on this video, and I will provide that, and you can print that out and use it if you find it handy for you. Till next time, I'm Mikey on behalf of the Knit Crowd, as well as the Crochet, or the Yarnspirations.com. We'll see you again real soon. Bye bye.